All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are unpacking one of the most profound, completely unresolved questions in human history. And honestly, we're going to see how it applies directly to our modern, digitally driven lives. Welcome to the epistemology of everything. Now, epistemology, that's really just a fancy word for the study of how we actually know what we know. We're going to journey all the way from the ancient world of Roman governors straight through to the pixels on your smartphone screen right now. It's a massive topic, for sure. But as we break it down, I promise you'll start to see the architecture of reality in a whole new way.
So, what is truth? It's such a stark, incredibly simple question, but man, it drops us right into the absolute tension of the human condition. This isn't just some dusty philosophical puzzle. It really serves as the anchor for everything we're going to explore today. Because, as long as human society survives, as long as we're observing the world and building communities, this one question is the foundation that all our knowledge, our morality, and our progress rest on.
Section 1. An ancient, unanswered question. Let's look at how this whole thing builds from a really heavy 2,000-year-old historical encounter in the Gospel of John. This is where the tension between earthly political power and spiritual claims literally collides perfectly. To really grasp the gravity of this question, we gotta look at the setup. So during his trial, right before being condemned to death, Jesus sets the stage for a massive philosophical collision. He claims his entire purpose, literally the whole reason he was born and came into the world, is to testify to the truth. That's a huge, uncompromising claim, right? He basically tells the Roman governor that everyone on the side of truth listens to him. And then, Pontius Pilate responds immediately with this timeless, legendary question: what is truth? But here is the brilliant, dramatic part of this narrative. Instead of waiting for an answer, Pilate just turns his back. He steps right back outside to the crowd to say he finds no basis for a charge and leaves that question hanging in the air for millennia. He drops the ultimate inquiry and just walks away. Moving on to Section 2. Decoding Pilate's intentions. The crucial point here is figuring out what Pilate actually meant when he fired back with that response. Was it an honest question? Was it a sneer? Or something else entirely? This brilliantly illustrates three distinct interpretations from the source material. First up, we've got cynical realpolitik. Pilate is a worldly Roman administrator, right? To him, abstract truth matters way less than practical, on-the-ground political expediency and keeping order. Second, there's philosophical skepticism. This represents that very Hellenistic and Roman weariness of the era, basically rolling your eyes and dismissing the idea that absolute truth can even be known at all. And third, you have this deep, dramatic, and theological irony in the text itself. He's standing there asking what is truth, while literally face-to-face with someone who previously declared, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Now, check out the original Latin rendering of Pilate's question. Quid est veritas? Keep your eyes on those specific letters, because history left a really fascinating little Easter egg buried inside this exact phrase. Medieval scholars discovered a striking anagram hidden right inside the text. No way, right? If you take quid est veritas, which means what is truth, and rearrange those exact same letters, you get est vir qui ad est. That literally translates to it is the man who is here. The letters of the question point the answer directly back to the man standing right in front of him. Whether that was intentional by early translators or just a wild coincidence, it is an absolutely incredible piece of literary history. All right, Section 3, three theories of truth. Moving past the historical text, human society still has to grapple with the core epistemological problem. How do we, sitting here today, actually determine if something is true? Let's break down the three major theories. First up in our toolkit is the correspondence theory. This one's probably the most intuitive for us. It argues that a statement is true only if it directly matches the physical objective reality happening around us. So the statement, "it is raining," is only true if, you look out the window and water is actually falling from the sky. It's simply about matching your mind to the physical matter. Next, we've got the coherence theory. This takes a slightly different angle. It suggests truth is whatever fits neatly and logically into an already established system of beliefs, without causing a contradiction. It's a lot less about observing the outside world, and more about making sure the internal logic of a system, think of a legal framework or a complex mathematical proof, holds together perfectly, kind of like a giant puzzle. Finally, there's the pragmatic theory. This takes a highly functional, boots-on-the-ground approach. It essentially says truth is just what works. If a belief or an idea produces practical, effective results in our daily human experience, it holds the value of truth. It's less concerned with absolute cosmic reality and much more concerned with human utility. Does it actually work for us?
Which brings us to Section 4. Who controls the truth? Because as society gets more complex, we see a massive shift. We move from simply asking what is truth to navigating the much more dangerous waters of who gets to control it.
To truly understand this modern power dynamic, we have to recognize the split between the objective and the subjective. On one side, we have undeniable objective truths. These are universal facts that remain true regardless of what you or I believe, like mathematical principles or the physical law of gravity. But on the other side, we have subjective or existential truths. This is exactly what the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard meant when he talked about finding a truth which is true for me. It's about lived experience, personal authenticity, and individual meaning.
And because that subjective space is so incredibly malleable, we end up with fierce competitors constantly fighting to define reality for us. We're talking political systems, religious institutions, scientific communities, and of course, massive media platforms. Why? Well, because whoever defines the truth holds the immense power to shape human behavior, dictate morality, and control governance. Defining reality is literally the ultimate form of leverage.
Let's take a quick breather here with this beautiful observation from the poet Emily Dickinson. She wrote, "Truth is such a rare thing. It is delightful to tell it." I absolutely love this because it perfectly captures the scarcity, the extreme value, and honestly, the sheer relief of truth, right before we throw ourselves headfirst into our chaotic modern media landscape.
Section 5, the modern information paradox. And that brings us to a massive contradiction. Ironically, in an age where we have infinite access to information, finding the truth has become far more difficult and far more urgent than at literally any point in human history. We're currently navigating this modern paradox made up of three vastly different paradigms of truth. First, there's scientific truth, which relies on rigorous empirical evidence, but is always provisional. It's continuously updating as we learn more. Then you have digital truth. This is the Wild West, the world of algorithms, media bubbles, and synthetic content, which requires our constant vigilance just to figure out what's actually genuine. And lastly, social truth. These are the shared narratives that hold civilization together. Things like money, laws, human rights. They are true strictly because we collectively agree to treat them as true.
Section 6, the limits of perception. Ultimately, you guys, no matter how much technology we build or how much data we hoard, we are left grappling with the fundamental limits of our own minds.
Pilate's brief question survives 2 millennia because it exposes the very core of the human condition. We are creatures driven by an absolute, burning desire to know reality. We literally need to know what's real just to survive. Yet, we are constantly, painfully challenged and bound by the fragile limits of how we perceive the world. Our senses can be fooled, our logic can be totally flawed, and our societies can be manipulated.
So as you close out of this explainer and go back to navigating today's overwhelming algorithm-driven digital landscape, I want to leave you with the exact same provocative question that started it all in that ancient courtyard. It's not just some historical footnote. It is absolutely the most urgent question of your day. In an age of algorithms and synthetic media, what is truth? Take that question with you, apply it to what you see on your screens today, and never, ever stop demanding the answer.